Hello everyone, my name is Greg Hartman. I am the head of art here at Duolingo. I'm very happy to be talking with all of you today as I'll be presenting some of the work on a project that we are calling Duolingo World. We've been working on this project for about 2 years now, and I'll be showing you the best parts of it. So, what is Duolingo World? Unfortunately, Duolingo World is not a Duolingo-themed amusement park, as much as I wish that were true. Amongst our team, the term Duolingo World refers to the development of our cast of characters in the world that they inhabit. By adding a cast of characters, we hope to give people a small taste of the world that's awaiting them as they begin learning a new language, one full of interesting personalities, colorful experiences, and great stories. The Duolingo world we're designing walks the line between authentic and outrageous. We value a world that feels familiar, showcasing scenarios where learning a new language feels attainable and applicable. Simultaneously, we want people to experience those scenarios in the funnest way possible, presenting a new lens through which to view a language journey. Combining quirky characters with quality content is how we believe learning a language can be most effective. One of the biggest reasons we're adding characters is because we believe characters can play a large role in motivating people. A lot of games we play internally have great characters, and those characters help to keep us engaged. At Duolingo, we love the benefits that games have on our brain health. I think of this the same way sports benefit our physical health. Sometimes it's hard to just get up and run around your yard, but once you introduce a ball in healthy competition, you think less about how physically hard it is and more about the ball and the goal. Because let's face it, language journeys can sometimes be long and difficult. So Duolingo strives to introduce that mental ball to help keep you motivated, and characters can help with that by dropping the audience into a world that they enjoy spending time in. These are a few ways we are currently sprinkling characters throughout our experience to motivate our users. The most common example is the character celebration, which happens anytime a user gets a challenge correct. We've also begun adding characters to our stories feature. Our hope is that by adding or using a reoccurring set of characters instead of one-off ephemeral characters, will allow us to focus more on the character development, giving the audience time to build more of a relationship with them. Lastly, we're also using more complex character animation to celebrate when a user has gotten a number of correct answers in a row. This feature is still in development, but we're excited to see how it tests. Now let's rewind a little bit and talk a little bit about the design phase. Designing our characters was really no easy task, but we did have a few must-haves in mind that helped us narrow down what these characters would eventually look like. We knew from the get-go that we wanted our characters to be a diverse cast of humans. It might seem logical to expect that our cast be a pack of friendly woodland creatures to complement Duo being an owl, but we don't want learning a new language to feel like something that exists only in a fantasy world. It's something that can happen to real people living in this world. By designing our characters as humans, in a small way, we're reflecting our user base, people who use Duolingo every day. In addition, since we teach languages from all over the world, our characters had to represent cultures from all over the world. We especially wanted to represent those that are typically underrepresented in Western media, and take a lot of care to ensure that every character's personality is well-rounded, three-dimensional, with fun quirks and relatable struggles. Another aspect we took into consideration when designing our characters was our mascot, Duo. Duo really is the most important visual aspect of our brand. In order to create characters that worked well within our existing design language, we knew they had to resemble Duo, so we dug deeper into Duo's design. When you break down Duo's design, there are 4 main components. First off, Duo is constructed very simply. He's really just a body with wings. Second, he has these really big, endearing eyes. Thirdly, he has a unique body shape. And finally, and probably the strangest feature, are his detached feet. Now, when you look at all of these together and you begin to apply them to a new human character, you start to see something interesting. A human character reflecting Duo's design language and thus making them feel like part of the same world. Now, these shapes that we use to design each character are important because they're outward expression of a character's inward personality. If you look at any characters in video games or movies, and you just focus on their basic shape construction, you'll probably be able to inherently identify if they're good or bad, and what kind of personality they have. Take these characters from Up, for example. Each character uses one prominent shape in their design to help communicate a persona. Triangles, for example, are dangerous and dynamic shapes. In this case, they're used for the bad guy to convey danger. Squares are structurally sound shapes. They're reliable a lot of times, and in this case, they're stubborn shapes. And circles are fun, safe, playful. These rules apply to all characters, even our own. However, since Duolingo doesn't have a story arc like most other design productions have, we didn't feel like we had enough information to solely write great characters. So we let their outward design influence what personality they would have, essentially letting the design write the characters for us. This was interesting because it allowed the designers to become the storytellers instead of the writers. We went through hundreds of iterations of characters, looking for the right shapes that we thought told the best stories. This was only a portion of what we created to get our final cast. So now that the characters are designed, we obviously needed to call our characters something, so we dove into naming each one of them. We figured this would only take like a week or two until we realized naming is really hard, especially when spanning many languages. We knew we wanted everyone, no matter where in the world they were using Duolingo, to refer to our characters by the same name. This proved more difficult than we originally thought. Finding a name that we, 1, thought reflected the character's personality, 2, was a name that could be easily pronounced in many languages, and 3 was spelled similarly, if not identically, across all courses. See, this last one is especially important because there wasn't any confusion around seeing a character's name in your native language versus the language you were learning, which could often appear on the same screen. An example of a name I really liked for this character but did not fit the criteria was June. June would have been pronounced as Jun in Spanish, so that name was kind of out. Another example that I liked was Pete. But Pete, if not pronounced exactly right in French, means fart. So we had to scrap that name too. So you take those examples and you multiply that by the 9 characters we designed, then multiply that by the number of languages we accounted for, and your spreadsheet quickly turns from this to this. But after a lot of back and forth, we did finally settle on names for our characters, which I will share with you now. So without further ado, let me formally introduce you to our cast. This is Junior. He's a vacuum cleaner of a child. Not only does he inhale food, but he's also very bright and absorbs nearly everything he hears. He's much more interested in video games, air conditioning, candy, and facts about frogs than anything that might require breaking a sweat. This is Bee. As a speed talker and walker, Bee is difficult to keep up with. She has a big heart for others and loves to help, as long as it's being done the right way. Bee is out to show the world that she's right, even when she's wrong. This is Lily. On an emotional scale of 1 to 10, Lily is at -4. She's the embodiment of deadpan. The last time Lily smiled was probably when she dyed her hair. Scarred by a life of being raised by 2 very affectionate and loving parents, Lily has vowed to never become like them. But deep down, Lily knows she's exactly like them, honest, faithful, and good. But she makes damn sure no one finds out. If you're wondering where Zari is, good luck. She's usually skipping from place to place, looking for something exciting to do, and roping her best friend Lily into whatever mischief she finds. Unlike most teenagers, Zari couldn't care less about what others think of her. Never looking before she leaps, she somehow always ends up effortlessly successful. On the outset, Oscar is reserved and temperamental. With his superb taste and die-hard devotion to detail, he can come off as snobby and stubborn. But at heart, he just wants everyone to appreciate art, culture, and food as much as he does. He's a world traveler and carries his mustache grooming kit with him everywhere. Eddy is a human version of a golden retriever, eager, pure, and seemingly impervious to criticism. He's often hilariously ill-equipped for the challenges of parenting, but he is devoted to his son Junior and successfully muddles his way to adequacy. Although he does second-guess nearly every decision he makes, which makes his sweatband consistently and unpleasantly moist. Lucy does a lot of odd jobs to stay active, rather dangerous ones at that. Incredibly reckless and officially retired, Lucy is resourceful, able to repair, cook, explain almost anything. The only thing that stumps her is knowing exactly how many cats she owns. Driven is not a word you'd use to describe Lynn, unless of course you're talking about her relationship with her motorcycle, Tank. Lynn cares for Tank the same way a person would care for a pet. Takes it for walks, gives it a bath, changes its oil. Extremely laid back, Lynn will actually work harder than anyone not to have to work a day job. And Vikram. Vikram is the master of the grill, thermostat, and his kids' schedules. His 2 kids adore him because he always leads with love. His generosity and positive nature help him skate through life. He loves everyone and everything. The only thing Vikram can't stand is being alone. So that's our cast of characters, and you'll be seeing a lot more of them in your Duolingo experience. There is one more thing I want to leave you with before I go, and that has to do with text-to-speech. If you don't know what text-to-speech is, it's basically what you hear when you tap this button within the app. Right now, it sounds like this.
You do not need to cry about it.
The downside of this, as you can hear, is that it doesn't reflect our character's personality at all, because we have one generic masculine voice and one generic feminine voice for all characters. So unfortunately, Lily sounds robotic instead of sounding like a deeply unenthused teenager. A character's voice is integral to their personality, so we decided to change this by hiring a voice actor for each character and working with Microsoft to create a custom text-to-speech font for those characters has allowed us to create stylized voices using our curriculum. So now, when you press that same button, Lily will sound like this.
You do not need to cry about it.
Or this.
My only friend is the darkness.
And here's how Junior will sound.
So, we don't have any food. She always eats a sandwich for lunch.
We are very, very excited about this feature, so keep an eye out for it as we'll be releasing it fairly soon. Thank you all so much for listening. This was a ton of fun. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Duocon. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.